Polycab and CNBC-TV18 present Infra Safety, powering India's electrical future.
Welcome to Polycab and CNBC-TV18 present Infra Safety, powering India's electrical future, where we explore the critical role of electrical safety in shaping India's infrastructure landscape. In today's episode, we delve into the real estate sector, discussing how electrical safety can be seamlessly integrated into modern residential and commercial buildings. Joining us for this insightful conversation is Sooraj Nair, founder, director and partner at Groon Designs Private Limited. Now, with extensive experience in MEP consulting and sustainable design, he brings valuable perspectives on the challenges, innovations and, of course, the future of electrical safety in real estate. So let's get started. Sooraj, great to have you on board.
Pleasure, Gautam, and thank you for having me for the show.
Lots of talking points to cover with you. So let's start with the projects and the collaborations that you are most proud of at Groon Designs, and why, and also the role of MEP consultants in ensuring that electrical safety in residential and commercial buildings is being taken care of. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I would firstly thank you to get me across to the board here, and it's an opportunity that I would like to take and convey my understanding on the projects that we are working across. At Groon Designs, we have been working on and we have delivered in terms of design and construction about 20 million square feet of real estate as of now. And a few of the projects that we are really proud of being with the Embassy Group in Bangalore, the Manyata front parcel. It's a 650-key Hilton hotel. And probably the early considerations of structural grid earthing systems, which is basically the backbone of the entire lightning protection consideration of a building, was implemented there. And that's one of the key highlight factor of the project that we've considered over there. At the same time, even in the Bangalore, we have done the Mall of Asia, which is again a Phoenix Market City project.
I keep seeing that as I go to the airport.
It's one of the, and it's a fantastic property in terms of the content that is created, the luxury element that is created, and you can imagine we have almost 45 kilometers of electrical cables running within the property.
And about safety, what would you have to say?
And when you consider this, when you have 45 kilometers of electrical, wiring and cabling running across, you can imagine the amount of consideration the project would have gone through in terms of planning the project, in terms of laying those systems across. And it's been rated. It's in operation for the last 1.5 years. It's been rated one of the most well-audited, safety audited project as of now, and it's been working very well. A couple of other projects that we're really proud of from Groon Designs is the Taj Gorband Palace, which was opened last year with the IHCL property. We were fortunate to work with the ownership, who's basically the Prince of Mewar, Lakshraj Singh.
So you have quite the range of projects that you've worked on, and these are big,
they are
complicated projects, which, an expert MEP consultant, that's what they're there for, to make sure everything works. All right, let's take this forward. As you're aware that Polycab has taken the charge to advocate the importance of electrical safety in infrastructure, which is why we see this program. What are your views on the initiative?
See, I think Polycab, I would say, before getting Polycab into the system here, what happens in the entire MEP industry, particularly in the mechanical section, there are very much large number of organizations available who are doing this kind of, like we have ISHRE, the Indian Society of Heating, Refrigeration, Air Conditioning Engineers. We have IPA, the Plumbing Association. We have FSCI, the Fire Safety Association. Which are actually getting all the professionals together under one umbrella and making things work. Now, that's been lacking in the electrical industry, and that's what I find the initiative from Polycab happening through, that they're getting all the professionals under one umbrella in certain amount of you can say like Elecrama or NEC, these kind of works across, where people can come in, where the vendors can come in, where the consultants can come in, and the professionals from the lower rung. I mean, a safety engineer from electrical aspects are also getting the opportunity of meeting through. And this kind of opportunities through Elecrama through Polycab, getting them, sponsoring them is a very big initiative, getting all of them under one roof, ensuring that we get their opportunity to speak across.
And that's what this is. This is a platform to bring in a lot of insights and make sure that players in the ecosystem can get to share the advancements that are happening in this space in terms of in terms of infrastructure safety. Well, in terms of this conversation moving forward, let's look at the challenges, the biggest challenges that you have faced when ensuring electrical safety in your projects is top-notch, and how do you address this? Because as you gave us the extensive list of projects that you're working on, and these are high-profile projects, which means everything needs to be up to mark and be state-of-the-art when it comes to electrical safety. But what are the challenges you encounter?
The first aspect that we really look into a project is the code compliance. Code compliance is something of the utmost importance, and there are guidelines. There are specifications, there are documentations from the government, and this is the most crucial part from a designer's perspective to ensure that the building is designed right. Now, being designed right is not the end point of everything. If you design right, if you don't execute it, it makes no sense. So it's very important that as a consultant, as a designer, we ensure that what we are thinking gets implemented on the right scale, also on the projects. And that's where we need the partnering association with the vendors, consultants, and the end executors like the contractors who do work on the project. So the contractors also should be geared up to understand, what the design consideration was and how they're going to implement it. And I think that's where, we are bridging the gap between a consultant, a designer, a vendor, a client, and the contractor. And that's where we see the directions is going quite well. And we are ensuring that, the thinking and the execution are now in synergy. And that's how we're looking forward.
And that's great. In the sense, there's a formalized system so everyone can understand what's going on. And as you mentioned, execution eats strategy for breakfast. So you need to make sure that the execution part of the equation is done in the right manner. Now, from the demand side of the equation, I want to look at the supply side. So the question is, how do manufacturers like Polycab with their, say, advanced cables and wires, in your opinion, how do they contribute to ensuring safety and reliability of electrical systems in both residential and commercial buildings? Because the scope, the size, the complication, everything has expanded. So you need to make sure that at least from the supply side, you have elements in place which reduce the headache for, say, MEP consultants like you, where you have everything that works and you just need to plug and play.
True that. So I think with the years of experience of what Polycab has been in this industry, our industry for the last 2 or 3 decades have seen a complete changeover in the way the construction has happened. It's not just been horizontally growing, and in urban cities, it is going vertically up.
Seeing 60 floors, 80 floors.
It's now becoming a norm, a 200-meter tall building or a 350-meter tall building. I mean, we also have 450-meter tall buildings now coming up here. So I think what Polycab has understood the market quite well. And what they have started educating the market is whatever products they have given the do's and don'ts about how these products have to be used and how they can, from the intent of which it was produced for, how to consume it. I mean, it's very simple that if you produce something and if you don't give the literature to the person who's going to consume them, they may misuse it. So I think that definitive knowledge of how the production is being made, what is the intent that it can be used for, and how to maintain it over a period of time, that is where I think Polycab has now started looking into in a big way. And they have introduced a range of products which is now catering to each and every element of the electrical consideration, including the home appliances. So it's not just the building, but it's also the white good consideration that's now being a part of it. So when you're starting from a cable to the usage point of the white goods, everything is now on the board from Polycab. And that's where the front point to the end point has been now fully captured.
Absolutely. And even from a quality standpoint, the use of electricity has expanded significantly in cities. As you mentioned, from a white goods perspective, you have 2-3 ACs, you have a large LCD TV, you have a computer, you have a PlayStation, and you have a whole host of electronic gadgets which you need to make sure are safe because they are expensive. And in this platform, we've discussed ideas like, maybe the wires could change colors if there is an issue. So that gives an immediate visual indicator to anyone looking to fix it. So there is innovation happening in the market. But the point is, electrical safety often involves a balance of aesthetics and functionality. So how do you ensure that electrical systems are both safe and integrated seamlessly into your designs?
So I think हिंदी में कहावत है जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. So I think and that's what we've seen in the projects across. Unfortunately, what we've seen is electrical safeties have taken a backseat because they're not the good-looking products, particularly in terms of being a distribution board, a panel. Of course, there are good of lighting, automation systems that are not available, which go along with the entire aesthetics of the project. But the major factor is to consider all the elements of the distribution boards, the main panels. They should be located at spaces where you can easily access them. Safety cannot be compromised, so it cannot be camouflaged, and that's what we have been discussing. All the developers, the architects, the interior designers, that you want to look good, but it should also be functionally good.
But do you see that conversation evolving organically?
It is quite a lot, and we have been showing them examples of projects in Middle East or in Europe or in US. What happens is in Europe, Middle East, as well as in US, the consideration for the electrical safety is the primary importance rather than being on the the look and feel of it. So if you need a distribution board, it should be at a certain height. It should be at a certain location. Visually, you should know that this is where my safety, I can switch them off. Here, unfortunately, in part of India, it is coming to the evolution. We put the distribution board right in the false ceiling, tucked up in some corners. We have been discussing this with all the leading architects, interior designers, and clients, that this should not be the practice that we should look forward for. We're getting them back into the drawing board. And every process of the project goes from a concept design till the time it goes to detailed design and it goes to execution. During all this stage, we are able to discuss this matter upfront, and we're saying that they can still look good. And they can be recessed, but they need not be completely, invisible. It's necessary to get them on those boards, and we have been able to do that.
And there was talk about, how we need to also rethink about, say, distributed electrical systems, because you have wires. If it's a 60-floor building, you have all wires coming down to a central location. Sometimes there's no clarity on, usage of basement, what construes as a basement, which also makes folks in the ecosystem uncertain. But keeping all these aside, let's look at the crystal ball. How do you see the future of electrical safety evolving in real estate across different types of buildings, residential complexes, retail, avenues, and hospitals, office premises? There's a whole mix, especially as buildings become more smarter and technologically integrated. This whole, there's a lot of mixed-use development. There is a lot of need from hospitals. You have real estate malls, coming up, which are, sprawling across the city. You have residential buildings growing in size. What's going to happen next, in your opinion?
So if I take it back about 5 to 6 years back, prior to our Corona days, in 2019 onwards, it's been becoming a mandate from the government that safety audits are crucial on every project. So, and the government has released these kind of requirements on every project that you have to get into safety audits. Now, safety audits is one of the biggest benchmark every project should go through to ensure that, the relation in terms of where the project is going towards, whether the product has been delivered according to the norms that it has been come through. So that's something getting ensured. Projects in Singapore, they were ensuring that, all these buildings will not get their licenses renewed unless they're catering to a safety audit. I think our country is also going to that revolution, that in future we'll also get building related audits being a mandated consideration. Today it's open for discussion that it's just a suggestion, you should keep on doing it, but it's going to becoming a mandate as we come forward. So that's one good factor that we're looking at, and that gives a prominence for the electrical safety in picture. And of course the buildings are now becoming smarter. So there are smart buildings, we call it, because smart building means it is getting the data and analytics getting stored in terms of various systems that we have. So in buildings, we have building automation system, which is recording
IoT
all the
and
consideration. And ultimately, they push it through the IoT platform, wherein the entire building-related data is stored in a cloud. And this information is good for the building facility management team to ensure how they look into the preventive maintenance of
They have
projects.
a single dashboard.
They have a dashboard.
If you add AI elements to it, which gives prescription saying there's a potential problem coming up, please address it before it blows up, then...
So like you said, various scales of project, whether it's residential, with hospitality, whether it's going to be malls, a sort of a cycle is getting created, a data cycle is getting plugged in, and probably all this information will start giving the right information as a preventive input to the facilities team, that, we find something is heating up somewhere, some of the cables are getting, into the heated zone, and it could allow the entire team to just preemptively act upon all these issues before it becomes to a situation where it's a life safety. I think that's where the projects and the aspects are going forward now.
And I think that's what I love about this technological X factor, which is playing a role in electrical safety as, of course, the use cases become more complicated.
Correct.
Because it has the aspect of preventative versus just curative. I also want to bring in a point on sustainability in this conversation, because with increasing emphasis on sustainability and green building certifications, the question is what role does, say, solar cables from players like Polycab play in not only meeting electrical safety standards, but also supporting green building certifications and energy efficient designs?
So sustainability is now a norm. It's not by choice. Of course, government is pushing every developer to ensure that they are taking renewable energies as a part of the system. And when there is renewable energy available in a country in abundance, we are going to use them for the maximum. And solar is one of the major key factors to help us to achieve that renewable energy consideration. Our target of the country itself to become, net zero by 2070 is something which is possible only if we get into the renewables quite well. So what we've understood and we have seen across Polycab is giving products which is rating from the production, that is the source, like you have a solar panel, then the connected cables, and then where we store the energy. So all elements have been now under one roof of what we have seen from Polycab. So, and within all these things, there is a content for recycled material which has been used for. It is all ROHS compliant, which is also very crucial. So I think with these consideration, Polycab is ensuring to see that, the consideration for sustainability is just not on the paper. It has also been practiced in all the products that is coming through. And that's why we're looking forward on those lines.
And it's great to see all-in-one options. They provide the ease of choosing them, and of course, they unlock efficiencies which otherwise would not exist if these are distributed. All right. Before we, wrap up this conversation, some few more questions on, common electrical safety mistakes that you've seen in, say, construction or design, and how they can be avoided.
So the most common issue comes always in the execution. Because on a paper, you can do anything very well. The specifications are there. But it's when you execute the project, what is the kind of awareness the contractor has. Like the major fault that we keep on seeing in projects is sizing. You can say the grouping of too much of cables together in a cable tray. There's a design which says it should be done within a certain amount of spare spaces such that when the cables are put together, they don't, overheat themselves. But what's been done at site to save those few amounts of rupees is we group so much amount of cable in one set of cable trays that over a period, these cables start overheating and then causes the point to fire. Again, distribution, we have seen jointing of cables, which should have never happened. Electrical clearly says that it should be from point to point. You can't join the cable. Even if you join the cable, there are certain kits and tools that you have to use. But we've seen some fusions happening across, which is again a big problem for electrical safety. The termination between cables to the panels. These are some basics which can be easily avoided at site, and that could lead to a potential danger in a building. And it doesn't cost much. It's already factored in the project cost. But the cutting of the corners because of no
change
supervision.
Those old habits, because where you are used to doing things in a certain way to achieve short-term success, long-term the problem still exists. And it also makes me wonder when you talk about all this collection of wires, what's happening in data centers. But speaking about solutions, we touched upon the role that technology is playing. Moving forward, how do you see the technological ecosystem evolving in enhancing fire protection in modern buildings? And of course, how can technology be leveraged, as we mentioned, to proactively detect and prevent electrical hazards in buildings? If you can give some examples from the projects that you have deployed where technology is playing a crucial role in that.
So I think when we do projects in terms of the fire protection within the building, we look at the active and the passive measures. Of course, the active measures being that we have provisions for fire detection in systems across. And the major cause of fire is always between, you can always say the electrical safety is the most important concern that we need to look into. So whether it is sizing of the distribution board, whether it is sizing of the RCBs, the MCCBs, the evolution has happened beyond from the time electricity has been used. So it has just increased. The technology is able to convey if there is any additional short circuit expected, any arc flashes that is getting expected. We are also now having online monitoring of the busbar systems to ensure that the busbars are not overheated. So all these technologies and then integrated with the AI. These are all connected in alignment with the AI to ensure that the preventive maintenance of projects are getting,
and some developers are also looking at it within the home. If there is some fault happening, it automatically sends a message to the owner.
Yes.
Even if they're outside, that there is a potential issue. If you'd like, we can send someone over to take care.
So I think the level of you can say this life and safety has just increased beyond just being a tick mark on the book. It's now a system. It's become a system.
That's good to hear. Defaults always work, in my opinion. All right, time for some trend watching. What are some of the upcoming trends in real estate development that, in your opinion, will have an impact on electrical safety? And how should MEP consultants and developers prepare for them?
So the trend is that buildings are now becoming technologically advanced. They become taller and taller. Like I said, in urban cities like us, it's becoming taller and taller. And in cities in the north, where you have space, you are all growing horizontally. So when you're growing, whether it's going horizontally, spreading across, or whether you're vertically growing, the transmission losses are very crucial to be managed. And that's the reason why we have systems in place, like we have bus bars or cables of higher size. We have HT cables. These are our basic consideration. Now we're going into projects which ensure that there's no leakage between the start point to the end point, and ensuring water is produced is getting consumed at those lines. These are certain things that we ensure that the projects would now look forward for as the trending that comes in.
And what advice would you give to, say, architects and real estate developers about electrical safety and making sure that they are compliant?
It's a simple fact. Electrical safety is not a luxury. It's a part of our life now. So if we look into the life safety within the building, if you take care of the building fire and life safety, from which electrical part is the most crucial about it, it will survive the design of the building, which is generally for 50 to 75 years. So I think we have to practice what we are preaching now, and that's what we would all like to tell the entire industry, that do not consider life safety and electrical as a luxury, but as a form of our life. That's part of breathing.
And how long have you been associated with Polycab, and how has that experience been so far? What would you say?
So I've been there in the industry for almost close to 3 decades now. And my experience has been on all the 3 decades, from a contracting field to a consulting field to being a designer and owner. And I've seen that Polycab has evolved the way the market has evolved. Like we said, from being horizontal, being vertical, to any kind of demands that the project is needing, Polycab has raised its hands and always being able to produce those kind of products that would need to cater to this kind of a market. So I think it's becoming a market leader on those lines. I am wishing them all the best, that they keep on continuing to be in line with the trend of the development that they are.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sooraj. And I hope the evolution continues in terms of improving many aspects of the ecosystem, and electrical safety becomes the default rather than optional. That was truly an enlightening conversation on the critical role of electrical safety in real estate. Sooraj, thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us your valuable insights on designing safer and more efficient spaces.
Thank you, Gautam, for having me, and looking forward to some more engaging sessions like this.
Absolutely. And well, as we continue our journey through Polycab and CNBC-TV18 present Infra Safety, powering India's electrical future, stay tuned for more expert-led discussions on shaping a safer infrastructure landscape. Until next time, stay safe and power ahead.
Polycab and CNBC-TV18 present Infra Safety, powering India's electrical future.